What's going on, everybody? I'm the urban legend, Drake Gallows, UWO owner, founder, and creator, and you're watching Drinkin.
All right, everybody. Want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin at Moe's be a brand ambassador. They encourage everybody to break out of that comfort zone, live their best self, which, hey, that's what got me starting the podcast. But they got great clothing, great apparel, t-shirts, hoodies, beanies, hats, all that good stuff. Be sure, link will be in the description, and use the code Drinkin at Moe's to get 10% off your order. Let's fucking
All right,
go.
everybody. Welcome, Drinkin at Moe's. Big Mo here. You know the drill. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all the good stuff, because it helps people find me in that pain in the ass algorithm where most places you can find your audio podcast. Today, I'm excited to have with me the man behind Unified Wrestling Oklahoma. How you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, I'm excited to have you on. Like I mentioned before we started recording, that I've had a few people from the promotion that have passed through there on, so it's nice to have the man behind it on here. So I start off everybody the first time guest with what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started deciding to make the leap into the business, because you are on kind of a couple different sides of the business.
Mm-hmm. Well, as far back as I can remember, I've been a wrestling fan. I've never not enjoyed professional wrestling. I was born in '92. I'm 30, so I'm an Attitude Era kid. I was just incredibly, I don't know, awestruck by pro wrestling in general. And I got to watch King of the Ring, either '97 or '98, the year that Foley gets thrown off the cage. This is the first pay-per-view I ever watched, and I would take a look at Mankind and say, he's not an Adonis, he's not in fantastic shape, but he's still the WWF champion. So, if he can do it, maybe I can do it. And it was like, I don't have to be a textbook perfect, catch can wrestler. Maybe I could just do the wild spots and, be the crazy guy that, lands on the concrete often. And maybe I could become a success that way. And I actually kind of have. So it all worked out.
That's good. And then you decided, when you finally decided to make the leap in, was it just one of those that after seeing all those people that you admired, you're just like, bam, I'm doing this?
But yeah, the beautiful thing about it was it wasn't hard for me to find. And that's the crazy thing now, is because I do run a wrestling school. We have the DG Dojo here in Newcastle, Oklahoma. And when I was 14 years old, my older brother was also a wrestler, and he had been attending Mid-South Wrestling Alliance training under Tom Jones. And he was, pretty quick to tell me, there's people younger than you and, smaller than you already in the classroom. So there's no reason why you shouldn't just get your ass in there and try it. So I had started taking bumps at 14, and I actually had my first match at 15. And I had my first match for Martin Justice and his OECW promotion in Walters, Oklahoma, which was on native property. Like Indian land, you don't have to have any licensing or permits or any kind of thing. So being underage, I could still wrestle. So I spent quite a bit of time looking for ways to jump through hoops so I could find bookings and things. And it was super easy to find them for quite some time, because the commission here in Oklahoma wasn't all that strict at the time. So I found a way to sneak my way into some shows. But to find my way into a wrestling school was pretty easy, because I had an older brother who was just like, hey, man, come to class with me. And he found it through a newspaper ad.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's pretty easy to find it then. I know for me growing up, when it came to independent wrestling, good Lord, it was few and far between. And I know I didn't actually get my start watching independent wrestling until I was actually stationed with the Navy down in San Diego, and I just Googled independent wrestling, or I just Googled professional wrestling in San Diego, and boom, there popped up a show, and off I went.
that's awesome.
Oh God, yeah, some of the guys down there, I've had a handful of them on actually, so it's pretty cool. And now we kind of talked a little bit before recording that you got two different shows coming up. One's a bit of a free one for the fans, which is
Yeah.
often kind of cool because, you know, with how a lot of people out there probably that might not always get the chance to spend that little extra money on a ticket to a show, that free one, hey, can't beat that.
Well, there's actually a little bit of a backstory to that one. We didn't really give a lot of attention to social media until the last 3 or 4 years that I've been, promoting events and stuff. When we actually opened Unified Wrestling Oklahoma, we had a YouTube channel, but we weren't really doing a lot with it. And it was because we didn't have a lot of traffic. So I made a deal with the audience. I said, look, if you guys get us to 1,000 subscribers, I'll give you a free show. And usually what we will do, because a lot of our events are done at American Legion and VFW Post, and we have an incredible relationship with those companies, and we are very, very proud and fond of our military service. We absolutely love our veterans. Probably 50 to 75% of my roster are retired military, and I'm not military. I wasn't able to enlist, but we had several people come in and out of the U.S. Army, Navy. We have one Marine and 3 or 4 Air Force that work for us regularly. So having a relationship with the American Legions and the VFWs has always been a big deal. So it wasn't because we try to celebrate it. It was just convenient that it was the same time. We did our first event as a thank you. Our first free event, I'll say, as a thank you to the veterans that were at that particular American Legion in Midwest City. And it fell on the same weekend as the 9/11. And so around 9/11, whether it be the 9th, the 10th, 12th, whatever that Saturday may be, it just became the annual September event is no charge. Well, instead of doing one free show, I made a deal with these people. Hey, if you guys get us to 1,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which is UWO, Unified Wrestling Oklahoma, I will give you guys a free show. So that being said, now I owe them 2 free events. So we're having one at 4 p.m. and another at 6 p.m. So I'm going to give them a 90-minute show with a 30-minute break, and then we're going to have a complete second event on the same night. The first show being UWO and the second show being RDW, which is the sister promotion that we also run.
Gotcha. That'll be cool for the fans there. You got what sort of matches you got going on? Because knowing it being this coming Saturday as of recording this, probably got the cards pretty much lined up.
Well, I can promote 3 right now. I can tell you about. We are in the middle of a thing called the Crow Cup. Every year we have a 8-man tournament. Originally they were all done in one night. We would have just a thing we called a night for the freak show. Christopher the Freak Show Crow was a professional wrestler. He died 12 years ago, and we have been doing an event in honor of him ever since. And we decided that this year, instead of doing them all in one night, we would spread this tournament out over the course of 3 months, over the course of 3 promotions. So the first matches took place in UWO. The second round will take place in RDW, and the finals will take place at our next event in October at the Sooner World Class Wrestling Show, which is on Friday the 13th. So 2 semifinal bouts. One is between Brawler Chris Morrison and Red James. The other is Adrian Vega. Are you familiar with those guys?
Chris Morrison, yeah, I've had him on,
Yeah.
and we're actually talking about. I'm wanting to say it's shortly before that Friday the 13th show, actually having him on again.
Yeah, no, he's the shit. I've been friends with Chris for like 15 years, and we've been super tight ever since I met him. Great guy, and he's a hell of a wrestler too. And like I remember when I met him, he was like 140 pounds, and now he's like a brick shit house. Dude's on the gas for sure.
As of right now, his is, I'm wanting to say, my second most viewed episode on YouTube.
Excellent. No, he has been an incredible asset to UWO, and I mean, other than just being a great friend for a long, long time, he's a hell of a guy, and he's a fucking awesome wrestler. He is violent, he is aggressive, he lays his shit in, and he's one of my favorite people to work with because of that. Because I need people to, you know, be able to like bring it whenever I get in there to get motivated. Because if they're a powder puff, then I just don't care. I'm like, man, you need to lay it in and make me feel it, or I'm not gonna. I want to give these people some energy. You know, I want them to hear the meat slapping, and he'll knock the shit out of you.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
that's the type that I gravitate towards right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, he's wrestling Red James, who's he's also very good on social media. He's a hell of a promoter. I mean, he's wrestling full time. He's very much like a loudmouth, just obnoxious Southerner with, you know, his front row. Both of these guys' front row teeth are missing, so like they don't have to worry about knocking any of them out since they're both gone. But yeah, he's very much the same. He's a brawler. He's aggressive. It's going to be a good one. And then the other semifinal match is Ricky Wingrave, who he is. I mean, I consider him the heart and soul of the whole company. He does so much behind the scenes to help UWO, whether it be graphic design or, you know, he makes the entrance videos for everybody. He's a hell of a computer guy, you know, and that's not something within my wheelhouse at all. I can make matches. I can handle money. I can book talent, but when it comes to the keyboards, I can't fuck with it. So he's a big help to the company, and he's actually 50% owner of the company. He's been running it with me since the day we opened it, and I had a lot of options when it came to business partners, and I picked him because I knew that he would stick with me, and I knew that he wouldn't give up on the cause and the plan. And like we've always had this goal to keep wrestling moving and keep it going in Oklahoma. And there have been times where companies have, you know, disappeared for 6 months to a year, or, you know, just closed at the drop of a dime. And we just want to make sure that man, there's probably 100 pro wrestlers in Oklahoma, and, you know, maybe 3 or 4 of them are actually making an effort to get out there and, you know, really make it. But that leaves 96 guys that need places to work, and that they want to be active, but they want to be home. Yeah. And I have no issues with that. I have no issues with that whatsoever, because I've been doing this for 15 years. In December, it'll be 15 exactly. And I've got 2 little kids here at home. I've got a beautiful wife, and I want to come home too. So I completely get that. So, you know, that's always been our goal, is to make sure we just keep the lights on and keep the doors open. So seeing him, you know, progress, not as, you know, just a businessman, but now he's doing some incredible work in the ring, and he's actually starting to move up on the card. And, you know, if he makes it to the finals of this tournament, I'm going to be rooting for him for real, because I can't think of anybody who deserves it more, because he's just he's a damn good dude. But it's going to be tough, because I'm pretty confident. Now, this isn't to say that Adrian Vega, his opponent, or that Red James aren't capable, but I'm pretty confident that the finals are going to be Chris Morrison and Ricky Wingrave. And if that's the case, then that is going to be one of the most violent matches. And I don't mean weapons. I don't mean toys or bullshit. I mean, they're going to beat the ever-living shit out of each other, because they just don't like each other. They got something to fight for, and they don't fucking like each other. I mean, I've got a 5.5 foot tall trophy for the winner of this tournament, and they got to take that son of a bitch home. And, you know, that's something like, I won the first Pro Cup in 2012. Mine is a cup. Like, I can hold it in my hand. This thing is taller than my doorway in my home. This trophy is ridiculous, and I'm jealous because, like, when I got mine, it was very cool that I got to take that cup home. But when I look at everybody else's, I get pretty envious because I'm like, man, my cup, I could drink out of my fucking cup. Yours is fucking insane. So, yeah, I guess I can't be really all that upset because I'm the one who bought the damn trophy. But I should have got myself in this tournament.
Yeah, no, hey, being able to become a multi time champ of that cup would be pretty cool, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
now,
I'll have to send you a photo of this new one. It's pretty dope.
I would look forward to seeing that. Now, we mentioned show in October. You got much set up for that yet? Because I know you said the finals for the tournament is going to be at that show. Yeah. So I know there's that.
So the two winners of the semi-final matches that take place this Saturday will go on to semi-main event, the October event. They will fight for the trophy October 13th in Oklahoma City. And we don't know who the winners are yet. So all we know is that it's going to be the finals for the cup. But the main event of the card itself is a top rope battle royal. Sooner World Class Wrestling is the promotion that I was brought up in. It's where I learned how to take my first bump. It is the company where I literally got my feet wet. It's where I got my real start. I got, I took a million beatings in the underground arena on Southwest 25th Street in Capitol Hill for years and years and years and years. And eventually that building was sold. So Sooner World Class Wrestling had to kind of stop running events for a little while. And the promoter, his name was Rick Garrett. I mean, this dude was such a solid dude. He ends up gifting the 18 by 18 ring, which is a 62-year-old ring. It was a world-class ring. Rick Garrett actually was in a little history. He was actually in a tag team with Kevin Von Erich. So this dude wrestled barefoot. This dude, learned how to bump, working with the Von Erichs and a lot of the guys in Texas. I don't have a ton of information off the top of my head because it was, like 50 years ago, but super nice dude. He's old as shit when I met him. So, it was all hearsay. Back in my day, that kind of thing. Yeah. But he's got the pictures to prove it, man. When you can see him in the ring standing next to the Von Erichs, that's pretty dope. So he ends up gifting the ring and basically the name of the company to this dude, Kareem Sadat. And he was the booker of the company. Basically, Rick got too old and he didn't want to fuck with it anymore. And right now, Kareem Sadat is in a coma. He's living in hospice. He's been in a coma since like March, and he's dealing with some pretty serious health stuff. So like, there's not a lot you can do. Once you go to hospice, you're pretty much there until there's a miracle. But we don't want to consistently, put our heads down and pout and bow, and like we don't want people to stay negative and just think like the worst, because it doesn't have to be that way. So like what we wanted to do, we didn't necessarily want to call it like a reunion show by any means, but we definitely wanted to do something where we brought all these guys together who used to work for this company, and we wanted to do a bit of a gimmick battle royal, I guess you could say, where these guys get a chance to get back in the ring, and if they want to, cool. If they don't, take a seat and enjoy the show and just be amongst friends, right? So I've got a ton of people that are going to be here as guests. I've got a ton of people that are coming for their one more match per se, and I've got a ton of people that just want to come check it out because it's Sooner World Class Wrestling, and that was the shit back in the day. Between 2007 and 2017, the SWCW was awesome, and it was Oklahoma's version of ECW. Every main event was a kind of a hardcore match. And Kareem Sadat, anyway, was like a 27-time hardcore champion. And we had Ultimate X matches there. We had barbed wire coffin matches there. We had a bunch of insane, ridiculous things that we probably should have never done. None of it should have happened, but we got away with it. But anyway, the main event is a top rope battle royal for the Sooner World Class Championship. And I'm so invested in this company and how much it meant to me that I actually have the physical belts to this day. Like, I bought them all. I have the heavyweight title, the mid-card title. I have the cruiserweight title. And we actually had a luchador title for a group of Spanish guys that came in. They were not around very long, and they didn't stick around. So by the end of it, it was a bunch of white dudes winning the luchador titles. Long story short, man, SWCW is my heart, and it was where I broke in, and I just want to bring it back for one day. So the main event will be the winner will be the last ever SWCW champion, and so that kind of puts a lot of pressure on everybody in it, because there's a lot of people who never got the chance to be the champion. There's a lot of people who they wanted that second opportunity. At the one time that I was SWCW champion, it was for less than 20 minutes. I cashed in a contract. The guy did his rematch clause like immediately, and like by the end of the night, I had lost the title and gotten fired from the company. So it's kind of some silly wrestling. But we also have already promoted a pretty big tag team match. The Psychotic Messengers, which is a guy named Malachi and his partner Tank, are going to be going against the Wrestlers of Mass Destruction from NWA. It's Kurt Gannon and Leo Fox.
I've had Kurt Gannon on, and he's trying to help me get his tag partner on. So
Leo, Leo is phenomenal. Leo is phenomenal. I mean, he's still very new, but he is getting it very quickly. He's a blue chipper for sure. I have a hard time not putting people over. I'm going to say nice things about everybody. I've had one match with Leo, and he's a 300-pound greenhorn, and I'm so grateful that he didn't hurt me. And that's the biggest compliment you can give a 300-pound greenhorn. He didn't hurt me. So, like, it's, the sky's the limit for him. He's super kind, and he wants to learn, and that's all he cares about is getting better. Kurt Gannon, when I met him, it was in the middle of Topeka, Kansas. We were in a random show. No promotion, no match card, nothing. We opened the show in a Falls Count Anywhere match with no heat, nothing. And we beat each other up throughout the entire gymnasium. And I mean, we were fighting in the bleachers, we were fighting in the stands, and I don't remember who won, but that was one of the most fun memories I have of meeting someone. And I mean, that was a decade ago, and we still talk about it every time we see each other, because we just had a great time. Like, it's crazy how you can have such a good time, getting the shit beat out of you. But I mean, you become fast friends, and then after that, it just kind of stays that way. He's actually never worked for me before either. I've known him all this time. This is the first time I've been able to book him. And what else do we have promoted? Oh, and I've got one more match announced so far. We actually announced it today. It's Justin Gray from Wichita, Kansas. He's like a 2 or 3 time AIWF tag team champion. Okay. And he's going to be facing, he's really, really talented. He's going to be facing Gino Rivera from New Mexico for the AIWF World Cruiserweight title.
I just recorded with Gino.
Yeah, he's very good.
A week or so ago. His episode will be coming out later this month. But yeah, no, speaking of the AIWF and that match in particular, the guy that you said was one half of the AIWF tag champs, I am actually friends with guys that I was there the night that they won those titles. It was in this promotion up in Fargo. They did a 2-night thing. One was in Fargo. The other was in Detroit Lakes. And I actually got to be special guest ring announcer for their match on night one. And man, that was something else. Because I remember shortly before that match, it was like a whole big tag team themed event. And one match in particular was, I want to say it was a Falls Count Anywhere street fight sort of thing with three people are pretty dang noteworthy in independent wrestling and, well, in wrestling in general right now. One, Warhorse, a very young Warhorse, was in that match. And then Eric Cannon, who first wrestling up in Minnesota, and then a lady that goes now by Ruby Soho, all in that match. So it was pretty epic. And I remember standing behind the curtain and just thinking to myself, like, I was pacing back and forth like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is actually happening. And some guy that was, I forget who it was back there like, you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty damn nervous right now though, but I'm fine. He's like, oh yeah, you'll be fine. It was like the moment they started announcing me going out there, I'm like, oh man, this is so much fun. But yeah, it was pretty epic. But
That's awesome.
And then Gino, coincidentally, I had, I guess, forgotten that he held that he is holding that cruiserweight title, because the guy that held it before him actually ran a promotion up here in Omaha, Nebraska. Guy, God rest his soul, Jason Strife, who passed away earlier this year. It was like late last year, early this year. And he was actually the guy that held it before Gino. So when I saw that Gino was holding it now, I'm like, holy crap, I kind of got that even more of a connection between the two now.
It's a small world, man. It's crazy how you just bump into so many people that you meet someone new. You start talking about, oh, I know this guy. Oh, me too. I know this guy. Me too. It's just,
oh yeah,
it's crazy because like Gino's in New Mexico. He's in Albuquerque. So it's like, how the hell do I know this guy? And it's funny because there was a promoter, and I can't remember his name, so forgive me, but this guy had been contacting me for months and months and months and months about wanting to do a show in Oklahoma City. And he was trying to do like a lucha hybrid event. And he'd actually been like brokering some deals with me to bring people in. And he had contacted Gino about a bunch of dates without talking to me about them first. And he was just like, so am I on this card or what? And I was like, I don't know who you are, bro. like what makes, like, why would I've never spoken to you? And he was like, well, this guy's telling me you wanting to book me on this show. And I'm like, bro, talk to me and we'll figure it out. And we actually didn't get to do business until now. And it was kind of because at first, this other dude had put such a sour taste in both of our mouths that we didn't even want to talk to each other because he was causing the problems and we thought each other were causing the problem. And it's just like, I'm done with middlemen. I'm just going to go to the source from now on. But no, I've gotten to chit chat with Gino quite a few times, and he's a very cool dude. And he's doing me a solid by coming in and having this match. And just, bringing the world championships into Oklahoma, whether it be AIWF or NWA, they're cool to bring in. It's an occasion. It's going to be a big match feel. It's to, make this event just a little bit more important than it already was. And this event is very important. It's close to my heart. So like, I want it to be a big deal, and it'll be a big deal for Justin too, because he had a pretty severe like health issue last year, like probably COVID related, but he had quite a few things going on at once, and he lost a few opportunities to fight for this title. And the champion at the time lived in like Laron, Kansas, so there was a really good chance they could make it happen. And some things fell through and it didn't work out, and then he got sick. So I like to kind of fulfill. This is also a problem with me. I like to fulfill things that fell through in the past. Like if I know that, hey man, I really wanted to wrestle this cat, this promoter dicked me out of it. I'm like, well, we can do that match here. So, I don't know if it's because I just like to. Maybe I'm a people pleaser. I don't know, but I also look at these matches and I say, well, man, that's a real shame that we didn't get to see that. Well, I can make that happen because I want to see it, and that's my game plan most of the time. Like if I know that it'll be a good match and I want to see it, I know that means that the audience will want to see it too. And we start putting some matches together that are, you just look at it and you go, okay, like who's the most dominant tag team in the state right now? Well, it's the Psychotic Messengers. It's like, well, you know, who's on the cusp of being signed by the NWA, and has a deal. And I just happen to be fucking buds with both of them. Like, why the fuck aren't you guys already here having these matches? Like, let's make the most of this while we have the opportunity to do it. And that's kind of the case with everything. Like that Battle Royal, man, that's a lot of guys' last chance. There's people that, there's a lot of guys who want to go out on their shield and haven't had the chance to do so, because, either COVID fucked them out of their careers or, the promotion closes or something happens, they're so loyal. And I'll never understand this, but there are some people out there that are so loyal to their promoter and the promotion that if the promotion goes away, they just stop wrestling.
Yeah.
And I've seen it happen several times, man. I've had 3 promotions in Oklahoma alone that I'm really upset they closed. I really wish they would have stayed open. And every person on those shows, they just disappear. It's like, man, what the fuck? Like, but I get it, man. If you're loyal, you're loyal. Or if you're just comfortable, and that's where you feel like you are going to be used the best, or if that's where you feel safe, or whatever. I get it, but it just kills me because like I don't like to use this as a flex because we know how accolades are in pro wrestling. All this shit, it's all work. But I have wrestled for every promotion in the state. I've been active for 15 years consistently. The longest break I've ever taken in 15 years was 6 months, and it was last year because I had my second kid, and I wanted to spend some time at home. And the year before I took that break, I had like 114 matches, which was average 2 or 3 a week. Like I was wrestling Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or I was doing Saturday and 2 matches on Sunday. And I ended up like, I don't know if I broke any records or anything like that, but I know that I was the most consistent that year in the state. And, you take that for what you want, but I was dedicated. I wanted to see if I could prove it to myself and to my peers that I could have as many matches as possible. And I just wanted to break 100, but I quit counting. And then I realized before it was too late that I've overbooked and I've already committed to all these dates. And like, it was October and I'd already had 100 matches. And then I was like, well, shit, now I've got to have these others, whether I want to or not. And it was cool. It was a lot of fun. And this year, it's October almost. It's September now, and I think I've had 14 matches. so I'm enjoying promoting much more now than I was wrestling then because I'm not getting my ass beat every day.
No, I can imagine after having a year with that many matches, one where you don't have so many, but you're still out there in the business can be kind of a nice, somewhat of a break.
Yeah. Oh, and it was bullshit too because I did some matches under a hood. I didn't get to count those.
Oh no.
No, but that's the thing when you're a promoter, man, and like say you have cancellations, who can you depend on? It's the old the Larry Zbyszko thing, man. Who can you depend on? Well, it's either me or my family, and my son is 2, or 3 now, so I'm not going to ask him to put on his tights yet. But if the only person you can really depend on is yourself, you kind of have to fight those bullets sometimes. And I don't mind stepping in when I am not supposed to, but it's always kind of funny because every time I try to take a break or every time I try to take the night off, something happens and I always end up having to wrestle, you know?
Yeah.
We promoted a show in Enid 3 weeks ago at the Stride Event Center, which is like a 3,500 seat arena for this thing called the Taco and Margarita Festival. And they just bring a bunch of vendors in. Like, it wasn't going to sell out. We knew that. But, you know, there's about, from 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m., there was about 1,000 or 2,000 people that came through. And they got to, like, look at the ring and shit. We had a 1 o'clock bell and a 4 o'clock bell. And we did two 4-match cards back to back. And which has become a habit of mine. I'm one of the only promoters that'll do 2 shows in one day. And I don't know if it's detrimental or beneficial, but it just works for us, so we keep doing them. But I had I had the most cancellations that day I've ever had in my life, and I had like 8 wrestlers tell me on the day of the show that they weren't going to make it, and I tried to juggle this card so much to not have to wrestle, and by the end of the day, I still ended up having to put a mask on and go out there and wrestle. And yeah, it was incredibly frustrating, but it was also pleasant because it was a new venue and a new audience, and you got to go out there and play a little bit. It was fun. So I can't be super mad about it, but you know, I would really I would really like to go one show without having to actually put my boots on.
Yeah, I've kind of been able to relate somewhat with the podcast because I might have mentioned there's some time this month that I'm taking off. Like, after this recording, I'm not recording new stuff again for about 2 weeks because
Right
I ended up having enough people with the schedule that I had last month. Nobody canceled on me. So I have content I normally do about 2 a week that I release. I have enough for that all the way to like the first week of October.
That's incredible. That's good.
So I was like, you know what? When I did that math, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take off here. Just because I'm like, it has been little over a year since I really had a break from recording, and that was due to a family tragedy, we'll just put it that way. And yeah, I had wondered if I was going to get back into it, but then, you know, once I did, I got the train rolling, and then there'd be times where I'd like, man, I want to break, but then I had so many people flake on me that month that it's like, well, damn it, to keep the consistency going, I kind of have to keep it going. And yeah,
it's just like wrestling. Sounds just like wrestling. Once you get going, it's hard to stop because you start looking at your calendar and you're like, I have to.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I mentioned before we started recording, I got a category that I like to do with each of my guests, and it's some random questions. Some might be wrestling related, some might not be. I give you the question, you give me first answer that pops into your head.
Sounds good.
First one, I only keep 2 of these questions in here more often than not because I love having them in there. This first one is one of them because I love hearing the stories. Craziest in-match moment for you that either you were in or one that you witnessed through promoting.
Craziest. There's 2 definitions for crazy. I guess I'll put it this way. UWO recently promoted Oklahoma's first ever death match, and it was Chris Morrison and Sam Stackhouse. And we have always had some pretty tight restrictions on what type of weapons we're allowed to use. They don't want us to use any broken glass. They don't want anything that can puncture you or, you know, cause any legitimate harm. And I've always been the type of promoter that just trusts my talent. I'm not going to ask you a million questions. And Chris Morrison and Sam Stackhouse are my two closest friends in the world. So I'm not going to put any governors on what they're doing. Well, I'm standing near the concession stand during this match, and I'm kind of watching what's going on, and I have my 2-year-old son in my lap, and Sam Stackhouse puts the syringes into Chris's cheeks. And like he did it this way so that like I've seen it before where the guy had the needles poking out, and this he just stabbed this guy in the face. So both needles were inside his cheek, and he told me after the fact, he was like, "Yeah, he stabbed me in the tongue," and that was disgusting. But in the same match, they also used what are called gussets. So do you know what a gusset is?
Yeah, I actually have one from a no ring death match show that I oh god, yeah, those things are brutal.
So I've wrestled with thumbtacks, barbed wire, fire, beer bottles. I've used just about everything you can think of. You name it, I've done it. They used syringes and gussets in the same match, and neither of those had ever even crossed my mind as an option. And it was some of the I was like, y'all are fucking stupid, but it was incredible, and it was one of the best things that I could have hoped for, because we promised a death match, and I have been in several, call them Extreme Rules matches, Monster Ball matches. I've been in thumbtack matches, dog-colored chain matches, tables matches, TLC matches, whatever. I've done it all. But that shit was nuts, and we got the footage that'll be on the internet forever, and I was so proud of them for putting that out there. Like, they put themselves in a very odd position by, offering to do that for me and my company, and I'll be grateful forever. The other type of crazy, I guess, would be not involved in the ring, but it was something that I did. I was working for a promotion in Lawton, Oklahoma, and I became incredibly frustrated with the creative. And I had also become very frustrated with the creative team because things were just getting more and more unprofessional. Things were getting more and more just lackluster and lazy. We would have Go Fight Live pay-per-views every week. I mean, we're live, and we're supposed to be selling pay-per-view, and I believe we had weeklies for like $5, but it was still, there were people that were logging in and they were supposed to be watching us, and there would be times where the creative team wouldn't walk into the locker room until 7:30, and we've been staring at a blank screen with an empty ring for a half hour, and it was just because they were irresponsible and they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing when they were supposed to be doing it, and it just got old. It got old very fast, and it also got to the point where the creative for me for about a year was like, "Hey, we're going to put you through a table," and this is weekly, so I'm wrestling people twice my size, and every single week I'm going through a table, and I'm talking for 4 to 6 months. I'm getting thrown off ladders. I'm getting slammed into guardrails. I'm taking all this stuff with a huge chip on my shoulder, because I want to make my portion of the show the best portion of the show. So I'm committing to every bit of this. There was one day where I did a 30-minute triple threat ladder match with a guy named Copycat and a guy named Joe. At the time, he was Ultra Phoenix, but he wrestled as Coyote Joe in Lawton and Ardmore. He works for World Class Championship Wrestling. Super great dude. I've known him since I was 14. He's awesome. No heat with the guy whatsoever. I love him. I just never want to wrestle him again a day in my life because this 30-minute ladder match. Because when we walked through the curtain right before we hit Gorilla, it was supposed to be like 12 minutes. And when my music hit, they said, "Hey, we need you to go 30." So we had to call almost 20 minutes of a main event ladder match with no preparation whatsoever. And the kicker was the week prior was the pay-per-view, and we had already done the ladder match. They enjoyed the first. They enjoyed the first one so much. They said, "Hey, next week we're going to do it again." And everyone walked in the back so mad that it just put a bad taste in all of our mouths, and none of us cared to work each other again. And it was one of those several things that led to me wanting to not work for this company anymore. Well, ever since I was brought into that company in 2012, I have had the moniker the Urban Legend. The catchphrase was, "Hey, legends never die." And I kind of had like a green arrow thing going on where, like, when they did my entrance, I'd pull the arrow out and I'd shoot it at the ring, or whoever was in the ring, I'd point it at them. And that was just my bit. I was Robin Hood, you know? And that was the thing. They were like, "Well, hey, man, you're the urban legend. Legends never die. So you can go through tables every week. You can get knocked through drywall. You can get thrown into the garden." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm still a fucking human being, and this shit still hurts." And they were like, "Well, fuck, man, you know, if you want to dip, dip. But you're going to have to think of something crazy for us to take you off the show." I said, "I just need to be taken off the show. Just write me off, and I won't come back." And they were like, "Nah, man, we need to think of something." So I'm sitting there with Jermaine Johnson, God bless his soul, wonderful man. I'll never have a bad word to say about him. He was amazing. He had complications with COVID as well. I mean, a lot of people died in the last 2 years, bro. A lot. Like, we lost like 15 people in a year, and it was a very bad year for Oklahoma. But Jermaine and I were just sitting there thinking, and I was like, "Hit me with a fucking car." And he goes, "What?" And I said, "Hit me with a fucking car." I said, "Let's go out in the parking lot, and whoever you want to do it, have them hit me with a fucking car. Make it so bad that I don't have to come back." And he was like, "All right." You know, and so we go out in the parking lot, and they climb up on the roof, and they're holding the steady cam on the roof as if it was a security camera. And my girlfriend at the time, she jumps in one of these dudes that works there. His name's Mark Wilson. He drove like a Lincoln Navigator. Or no, I don't think it was a Navigator. That's a big car. Anyway, it was like a Lincoln or a Mercury or something big. It was a big boat of a car. And they told her, you know, "Don't go any faster than 20 miles an hour. We'll speed it up." And I just looked at her and I said, "Go 30. And she went 30 miles an hour, and she hit me with a fucking car. And they showed the video on the pay-per-view right before my match was supposed to happen. They actually, like, I went to the event and we filmed it before the show started, and they actually wrote me off the show before the match took place. So it was kind of like sour for me, because to piss me off even more, they pulled me off the pay-per-view. Like, they could have showed the footage the following week. They chose to show it that day before the match took place. So they canceled my match. And I'm not mad at any of these people. This was a decade ago. This was 2012. I don't care anymore. But if you ever go look it up, it's Drake Gallows hit by a car. Very simple. And I do a full backflip because I get hit so hard, and I land on the gravel and I almost get ran over.
Oof.
Yeah, it's not. I could have done it a lot different and a lot safer, but I wanted to commit to the bit because I wanted to get out so badly that I was like, I would literally rather get hit by a fucking car than work here. I wanted them to see that and understand that I was serious. So that's what I did. And that would definitely be the fucking craziest thing. Because to this day, I still have people that'll walk up to me at like a gimmick table and hold their phones in front of me and be like, "Is this real?" That's 100% real. No padding, nothing.
Wow. Yeah, when
I got hit by a fucking car.
Man, when I get this edited, I am definitely, before I post it, I'll even go looking for that video and, like, at very least try to share a link in the description.
Yeah, no, it's not hard to find. It's out there. And
so yeah,
and I mean, I'll say that until the cows come home, man. That's 100% real. I just got hit by a fucking car.
yeah,
and then they actually did have this. Well, I'm sorry, they did have this gimmick at the time, it was called Total Darkness. It was a guy in a shadow outfit, so it looked like the Vacant character on a match card.
Yeah.
So like it was just a bodysuit, a full black bodysuit. I actually did do a spot on the show in that costume, like 2 hours after I'd been hit by the car. So like, and I was beat up, dude. I hurt my hip and like, yeah. I mean, I had a lot of scratches and scrapes and stuff, but like, I was fine. You know, I kind of had the Darby Allin mantra at the time. I was just like, I can walk, so I can wrestle. And I mean, I was 20, so I thought I was invisible, and now I'm 30, and I know that I'm not. That's why I just try not to wrestle as much. But I want it to matter, you
know. No, I totally get you. Now, next question. I consider myself a bit of a movie buff.
Sure.
I haven't gone to the theaters as much as I might like to, but I've always wondered about myself. So I figured I'd ask this to you. Who would play you in a movie?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, man. Oh, man. I wish it was Bruce Campbell from the Evil Dead franchise. I know it wouldn't. I know it wouldn't be, but I mean, when I was a younger kid, everybody said that I looked like Bam Margera and it wasn't just because I did jackass stuff. It was because I actually had like a kindness to it. Hopefully not like now Bam Margera, but maybe a young Bam Margera.
Yeah, the now one is that I'm not here to badmouth anybody with addiction issues, but yeah, he's got his issues right now.
Most of us do. They don't all have to be serious like that, but you know, it's unfortunate. It sucks. But yeah, man, I would hope Bruce Campbell, because I'm a big B movie kind of guy. I love, you know, straight to DVD horror. That's kind of my thing. But yeah, gosh, man, I don't know. Maybe if not him, if I were to look at like an A-lister, I would go like Chris Pratt, but like maybe not sexy Chris Pratt. It would have to be like Parks and Recreation Chris Pratt.
That's classic right there. Oh man, I know for myself, me being somewhat chubby of a goofball, I'd always pictured myself like if Jack Black didn't have any hair, I'd be like, go with him for me. That would be pretty epic.
Well, like his buddy Kyle Gass is a good actor too. I don't know if you ever saw any of the movies that he was in. There's quite a few cameos. He wasn't ever like a main character, but a lot of the old like Ben Stiller films, like the early 2000s, like and then I believe he was in Shallow Hal, just as a side character. That Kyle was awesome. I like that dude as an actor too, because he's honest. And there's a lot of those guys that have they're typecasted, you know. So like they have the same role in every movie. But God, I couldn't think of a better job just to go show up to different sets and do the same thing every time and just get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. That'd be amazing.
Oh man, and thinking about Jack Black, I remember, I think it was that first Jumanji movie he did with The Rock, where like they like the characters became whatever in like a video game, and Jack Black's character, like before the video game, was one of the female characters in
one of the girls, right?
And he's like, "Oh my god, look at it! I got a penis." I'm like, "Oh my god!" I was like, thankfully I wasn't drinking my drink in the theater at the time, because I full on spit take if I would have.
Hell yeah! That's another good bit. I love the gender swap films like Hot Chick with Rob Schneider.
Oh god,
you know, that one's kind of a deep cut, but like it's a joke between me and my wife, because we really really like Anna Faris, and she plays the best friend in it. and she's her name's April, I believe, in the movie. So when you hear Rob Schneider go, April, it's me in here, Jessica.
Oh my God, yeah. I remember. My God, that I wasn't even thinking about that when I brought up this question, but damn, now I got that image in my head.
Yeah. No, and that's a totally different question, but like absolutely, if anyone was to play my wife, it would be Anna Faris for sure. Our favorite movie of all time, because it represents us to a T. It's called Just Friends. It's a Ryan Reynolds movie. So it's Ryan Reynolds, Anna Faris, and not Christine Applegate. What's her fucking name?
I'm trying to remember.
Amy Smart is her name, and she was another one of those actresses that only did like 7 or 8, real good movies, and then she kind of fell off. But yeah, man, that movie to a T is me and my wife, and because I was the husky kid with the curly hair, the double chin, and I hit a growth spurt the same time I started lifting weights and stuff, and like I came back one summer after getting suspended, or I got suspended at the end of 1 year, so like I got an extra couple of weeks before summer, and I come back and I'm like a half a foot taller and I'm thin, and I think I had a tattoo, so it just worked out, I was decent looking for a little bit, and I had some people putting their eyes on me, so that was nice. But I found my way back to my wife, though. I met her when we were in the 7th grade, and we got married when we were 27, so we found our way back to each other. And it just kind of worked out. I came back to my hometown, and a few days after that, I don't know if I was grocery shopping or what, but bumped into her, and we've been attached at the hip ever since.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, yeah, because like you spend your whole life being pretty much best friends with somebody, and it hadn't even crossed my mind that I could have sex with this chick. Now I got 2 kids with her.
Yeah.
Someone asked me the other day, like, does that ever blow your mind? And I said, sometimes I gotta, double check and make sure I have children. Just be like, yeah, I did get this. I call them my 2 confirmed kills.
All right. Now, wrestling can be like a lot of things, can be a bit subjective when it comes to accolades and awards, and especially when people talk about like Mount Rushmores of wrestling, which I know I've had the discussions with many friends about who we would put on there. Who would you put on your Mount Rushmore wrestling?
So that'd be 4, right?
Yeah.
So I think I've done this before, but it's hard because, like, as you said, subjective. I don't want people to think just because he just passed away that I'm saying Terry Funk, but Terry Funk's always been number 1 for me, and it's hard to not say Foley because Foley's the whole reason why I'm here. So Mick Foley, Terry Funk, those would be the ones on the older side of things for me. Those are the matches that I go back and watch, not against each other particularly, other than the IWA death match that they had. I love Terry in ECW, but I also love Terry in the NWA. I love anything to do with the Funk Brothers as a team. I love Texas death matches that are, 2 hours, no falls, the last man standing.
Yeah.
Those were phenomenal. I love going back and watching those because, and like I run a wrestling school, so like I tell these guys, watch these matches. They're going to be nothing like you've ever seen because what they're watching is what they see on TV, and they don't understand it at all. They're like, this pace makes no sense. I'm like, because that's what real pacing for wrestling is. This is working a house. This isn't working a camera.
Yeah.
But yes, Terry Funk's my number 1. He always will be. Foley is if Funk was 1, Foley's 1A, and it's for a completely different reason. It's because I had this emotional connection to him as a kid, and when I got to be an adult, I had an emotional connection with Punk. And it's funny because he's also topical right now too. But I mean, from 2011 to 2014 or 15 or whatever it was when he finally quit WWE, like CM Punk was the shit. So like I got super nostalgic and I was invested into every moment of his AEW run, even though it was only 2 years. Like I saw a poster, they were like Roman Reigns' Universal title run lasted longer than CM Punk's AEW career. That's crazy.
That is.
But I loved every bit of it. And one of the reasons why I really love Punk so much is because of the shit that's going on now. Because he's the only dude left that's real. He's like, I will punch you in the fucking face. And I'm that guy in the locker room. Now, I'm not the one that everybody's trying to kick out or everybody hates, but I'm the one that's just like, guys, if you want to handle something, handle it here and handle it fucking now. You know, don't take it to the keyboard. Just do it now. You know, if you want to fight, fucking fight. Excuse me. And number 4. God, that one's hard. Man, I hate that because you start to forget that there's hundreds of great wrestlers and you can't think of any of them. And it's funny too because not to throw digs at anybody because I don't want anybody to think I'm throwing digs at them. But like when I was a kid, Matt Hardy, you know, Jim Ross always said he was the steak and Jeff was the sizzle. I was such a Matt fan that like I liked Jeff Hardy, but I liked Matt Hardy because he had the girl. You know, Jeff was cool, but he couldn't get a girlfriend if he tried, you know. Matt had the girl. So like I was the one that would tell people like, you know, yeah, Jeff's cool because he does the front flip and everything, but like look at this motherfucker. He's got the piece by him. Like, look at Lita. Someone asked me as a joke, they were like, who's the one wrestler that got you into the WWE? Like, what made you want to watch pro wrestling? And I always said Lita. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, look at her. Fucking, who gives a shit about the wrestling? Look at that fucking woman. And, God dang it. I don't have a 4th for you right now. I get off on tangents, sorry. But,
no, it's all good.
Funk, Foley, and Punk are my top 3 for sure. And you know, over time, you know, your favorites change and things. Like I said, like Matt Hardy was the shit when I was a kid, but God, dude, like following him on Twitter sucks. I hate it. Every time he talks, I just get mad. And like I met him one time, and fucking A, Sting. Sting is number 4. I used to paint my face because of Sting. I was Sting for Halloween when I was 7 years old. Sting.
Solid choices. I know as far as myself, Funk and Foley definitely. They're definitely in the mix. I don't know where exactly I put them. I only ever actually got to meet Mick Foley. I did get to meet him once, so that was pretty cool. I'm trying to get ideas from some of my collections over here. Stone Cold Steve Austin, definitely one of the other ones. He is like all-time favorite. One of the only people that if I ever actually got to meet him, I don't know if I'd be able to get a word out. Like I would just be like, I guess I just built him up so much in my head that I'd be like, holy shit, I'm actually right in front of him right now.
Well, like, you know the difference between a legend and an icon? I struggle to meet legends. If it's just someone who's like I met Abyss, and that's basically Foley's, you know, equivalent at some point in time, right? He's like, I based my whole career off of this dude. And somebody said, throw Kane and Mick in a blender, you get Abyss, right? And I got to work with him 4 times. Like we had 4 Monsters Ball matches, and every single one of them were fun. Everybody was safe. We had a good time, and like everybody was happy when it was over, which just tickled me shitless because I wanted to make sure that I didn't embarrass myself or hurt him. So when I met him, it was super easy. even though he's 6'8", I just walked up to him and introduced myself, told him we were going to be working together, and we hit it off great. I had to build the courage to introduce myself to Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And I wasn't a product of the 70s or 80s. I had no idea who this guy was. I just knew that he was a big fucking deal. And I knew that he was, super important to the business, and he'd been in it for 40 years.
Yeah.
So the first time I meet him, like, it was just shake your hand, move on. And I'm in a half-price bookstore, and I'm looking at autobiographies, and I didn't even know Hack had a book, but I found it, and I bought it, and I read it, and then the next time I saw him, because I've been on, like, I don't know if I'm bragging, but I've been on like 8 or 9 shows that he was on, and I brought the book, and I said, "Hey, brother, would you sign this for me?" And his exact words were, "Did you read it?" And I said, "Yes." I read the book, and we ended up sitting down and having a good 30-minute conversation about the book and the details of the book. And I think he just wanted to make sure that I wasn't bullshitting. And I was like, "No, dude, like, I loved this book, and I enjoyed a lot of the stuff that was in it." He spends a lot of it talking about how WCW tried to convince him to quit his job by making him a trash man, and he has a very long chapter about his daughters, and like there's a lot in the book. There's a lot of details in the book, and it was just a really nice conversation, and he was just tickled pink that somebody actually read this fucking thing, because I don't know that it was. I don't know how well the book did, but like I ain't gonna lie, I think I spent $7 on it. But if you print more than you sell, you're not gonna make a ton of money. But it wasn't a bad book, man. And I've read quite a few wrestling books, and it was one of my favorites. And it ended up, making an icebreaker. And it's something I needed, because I didn't have the courage to talk to the guy until I was just like, "By the way, can I ask you some questions about this book?" And he was like, "You read the fucking thing?" Like, "Yeah." And it got me 30 minutes alone with him, which was dope. Just getting to sit there and bullshit with a guy who wasn't a hero, but like by the end of that conversation, man, he became one.
Yeah, that is awesome. I actually got to meet him once at Sammy Callahan's promotion, Wrestling Revolver.
Nice.
They did a show where he did a signing at over in Des Moines, Iowa, and I actually got to meet him, and he asked me about if I watched wrestling back during his heyday, and I'm like, "Yes, sir, I did." And who are some of your favorites? And I went, "Well, you want me to tell you the truth? The Road Warriors back then."
Hell yeah.
It's like, "Oh yeah," we had a good little chat about that. But going back to the last person that I would put on mine right now, and I'm trying, and just because I had this connection with, he was one of my actual first favorites, and I actually got to see him at my first ever wrestling show. But I actually have his figure in my collection here. Big Boss Man.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
One of my all-time favorites. I remember when I heard he passed, I was so bummed out, man. It was, but yeah, those 4 for me. But another guy that, I might actually, when I talked about Stone Cold being a guy that I don't know if I'd be able to get a word out because of how I build him up, in Undertaker, he would be another one. There's like, holy shit, I'm actually standing in front of him right now.
I think I would be more intimidated by him than anyone, honestly. I don't get intimidated easy. It's not intimidation when it's like, I just don't want to embarrass myself. But like with him, I think it would actually be like, I don't want him to tell me to fuck off, because if that's the only thing he says to me, then like I'm not gonna ever be able to redeem myself. Like there's no way.
Oh yeah, no, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Now
you only get to make one first impression, and like another one was Leon Vader.
Oh, God, yeah, he would be would have been a cool one.
Well, I got to be in a tag team match with him. He was my tag team partner. And we walked into the locker room upstairs because he wanted a private room, which of course we were going to give him. And it was at the Crossroads Mall in Oklahoma City for Mid-South Wrestling Alliance, which was the company that I ended up doing the booking for a while. And the promoter's name was Mike Crawford, again, somebody who's passed away. But excuse me. They were super tight. They got to know each other really well, and Leon used to come to Oklahoma semi-regularly because his kid Jesse played football for the Sooners.
Mm.
So he also was in developmental for a bit, so like he was trained, and they would do tag matches. Well, in this case, at the time, I'm the Mid-South champion. Leon's coming in. They didn't want Jesse didn't want to come, so like it was either he didn't want to come or he could come something. But they were like, well, you know, Vader's getting kind of old; it needs to be a tag. And I was like, well, sure, yeah, I'll tag with him. And we got to do, you know, the beginning promo, set up the main event, introduce him to the crowd, and it was hilarious because he goes out there and he basically did Stone Cold shtick. He said, if you want to see me and this guy, Drake Gallows, kick those guys' asses, give me a hell yeah. So it was just funny because I've actually seen several people do that where they kind of borrow someone else's stick just as a joke. I was in Ardmore, Oklahoma for a Texoma Pro event. Robert Langdon is the promoter for that company. And he brought in the Good Brothers. Well, Luke Gallows, Drake Gallows, they kept us on opposite ends of the card. And side note, I was a Gallows first. But there was never any drama or heat or anything. And it's actually kind of funny because when I bump into Luke in the locker room, he fist bumped me and he said, "What's up, cousin?" So he knew who I was. That was kind of nice. And I think the promoter gave him a warning, like, hey, there's another Gallows on the card, but, you know, don't make a thing about it. And because there was nothing to it anyway. There's a lot of Chris's in the business, so who cares, right? But anyway, that night, Luke Gallows basically did Hacksaw Jim Duggan's stick the whole night. He did USA, USA, ho! Like, it was hilarious. It was so funny because I was just like, that is a guy who understands he is $1 million talent and he's wrestling in front of 300 people and he just wants to have fun. And seeing guys at that level still willing to just go out there and goof around and enjoy themselves is so refreshing because it reminds me to not take myself too seriously. Because there's quite a few young cats, you know, these 18 and 19-year-old guys that have had 5 or 6 matches that if it's not perfect or if they botch one spot or if they fuck up, you know, like they throw their hands in the air, they get mad, they start pounding the mat. It's like, buddy, no one gives a shit. So chill.
No, yeah.
But no, it's super refreshing to see just even those guys 10, 15, and 30 years in the business, they know they're getting paid just to show up, so they don't have to work that fucking hard. They're just having a good time.
No, always refreshing, definitely. Now, this is one of the other questions I normally keep in here because with the name of a show like Drinkin' at Moe's, I would feel weird if I didn't have it in here. Favorite drink, whether it be alcoholic, non, or one of each if you want.
Okay. My regular is a double crown apple with Sprite.
Okay, that sounds tasty.
Get you a 16-ounce glass, put 4 pieces of ice in it, 2 shots of crown apple, fill the glass with Sprite, or 7-Up or whatever. It is the best drink I've ever had, and I will put that in a cup before anything else. It is super easy to drink. It's smooth. It doesn't burn, and it's plenty of alcohol. So you drink 2 of those within a half hour, you got a great buzz going, and you're just having a good time.
All right.
I'm not one of these people that's gonna get into the drama with the beer.
Mm.
I don't care. I like beer. Beer is beer. So I don't have a preference on beer. I will drink just about any light beer there is, unless it's like unless it's like a Natty Daddy, those 15-ounce glasses or the 15-ounce cans that are 8% alcohol. That is gas. That is absolute fucking fuel, and I'm not interested.
No, I get you there. I mean, me, yeah, I have my favorites when it comes to beer, but hell, if you're putting a beer in front of me more often than not, I'm gonna drink it.
Coors, Miller, Busch. I'll drink natural light. I just don't want it to be a ridiculous amount of alcohol in the can. Bud Light's always been a go-to for me. I've always enjoyed a Bud Light Lime. Beer is beer.
Yeah.
You start getting into the IPAs and the weird, lagers and Oktoberfest and all that shit. That's where you lose me. I don't want it to be apple flavored or anything like that. Just give me a light beer and call it good.
Oh yeah. I mean, although Stone Cold, he does have his American lager and IPA, and they're both pretty good. I kind of prefer the American lager of his, though. That's pretty damn tasty.
Yeah.
Now,
I don't think they sell those in my area, so next time I'm traveling, I'll have to look for it.
I think closest to me that they sell either of those is in Kansas City, and that's about 2.5, 3 hours away from me. So
that's not too bad, though. I've made quite a few trips to Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. There's a theme park out there.
Worlds of Fun.
Worlds of Fun and Oceans of Fun. Yeah, I've gone down there a few times before I got married, anyway. But yeah, we were. I have to do this thing where I feel the need to drive as far away as possible to have a decent time. I don't know what that's all about, but anytime I go on vacation, I find myself in either Las Vegas or Florida.
I can understand that. Now, last but not least, best advice for anybody wanting to get into wrestling.
The best advice for anyone wanting to get into wrestling is to find a school with a professional coach that has at least 10 to 15 years of experience. That's not just going to be a group of guys that are throwing each other on the mat and trying to, land on their fucking head. Safety is always my first thing. I have the DG dojo here. I tell these guys safety before anything. I make sure that they learn how to run the rope safe, learn how to take a flat back safe. I make sure that they know how to do every single thing safely before they even consider doing anything off the ropes or doing anything with weapons or through tables or any of that wacky shit. They have to learn that this is a sport and this is a business. And they also have to know that they're going to be paying dues. They're going to be setting up rings and tearing down rings. They're going to be spending money. They're going to be doing security. They're going to be running jackets. They're going to be getting water. They're going to be investing their time, their money, their energy, and it's not all fun. I also only promise one thing when I tell students when they come to my school. I do not guarantee you a fucking thing other than the fact that you will make a lot of friends. That is the only guarantee. You will make friends. I'm not going to guarantee you'll get famous. I'm not going to guarantee that you'll get rich. I will guarantee that you will make friends.
That all great advice. And, thinking back to, I know growing up, some of the wrestling schools, especially depending on the part of the country you were in, could have been like a significant drive away to where like you probably had to move to that area. Now it seems like no matter what part of the country you're in, there is a reputable school. Like I know Southern California, they have a handful down there. I'm actually good friends with a few that intermingle with that school. Oh God. Midwest, we got a handful sprinkled around. Southeast, Northeast, like all over, there's a reputable school in just about every area of the country.
Yeah. And I'll take a second to put over. We have 3 schools in Oklahoma that have legitimate, I'll say reputable classes that have actual coaches. In Tulsa, you have the Core Academy. I believe that's what they call it. It's for Core Pro Wrestling. CORE. That's Nathan Estrada and Skylar Slice, and they also have guest coaches that come in. Brian Breaker, who was he was from Major League or not Major League Wrestling. I'm so sorry that I just drew a blank. From Harley Race's school. I can't remember the name. I drew a complete blank there. Anyway, he comes in and out, and then they also have this other dude who came out of the AAA system. So they learn lucha, and then they also learn, the Harley Race style. So there's a lot of good stuff there. And then if you go down to Ardmore, there's the Texoma Pro Academy. That's Montego Sika and Coyote Joe and Fuego del Sol. Those guys are all really good. Again, like I said, I love Coyote Joe. We just don't want to wrestle each other. I'll never say anything bad about him. And then Montego is amazing. And then everybody knows Fuego is good. Don't have to, go on and on about that. And then at the DG Dojo, you have myself. And then I have guests come in, semi-regularly to teach. We've got veterans that come in to give advice as often as possible. And I also, I encourage people to attend multiple schools, go to multiple seminars, go to as many different places as you can to get little bits and pieces from all these different locations. Because if you go to a school and they say, you're going to do it our way, this is the right way, anything else you learn is wrong, that is the one school that I'll suggest you don't go to.
Yeah, because you want, like, I've talked with a few different people, and the thing that, like, it's kind of a consensus is you want to be well-rounded. You want to take little bits from everywhere and mold it into your own thing, and then boom, go.
There are a dozen ways to do a hammerlock. There are a dozen ways to do a hammerlock. None of them are wrong.
Yeah. Well,
and I also tell people there are some schools that you should avoid. I don't try to bury people, but like take a look, do your research.
Yeah.
If you know that the person is, like maybe even consider doing background checks. I've done them. I've had students show up, and I got a little bit of a weird feeling, and so I felt the need to do a background check to find out what I needed to find out about them, and I found out they were like hard criminals, so we had to tell some people to find somewhere else to go because we just couldn't have them around. Like I'm a family man first. I believe that, once you become a member of the school, you become a member of the family. I think other people's safety is incredibly important. And let's say wrestling is your dream, but you have a 5-year-old kid. Let's say, wrestling is your dream, but you have a brand new wife because you just started a new marriage and, you have other priorities too. Like when I say you're a member of the family, I want those people to come too. I want your kids to meet my kids. I want your wife to meet my wife. We're gonna be buds or this ain't gonna work. So like that's just, I don't know. We we use the line more than wrestling. We want everyone to understand that this isn't just wrestling. We're not just taking bumps and having matches. We're trying to build relationships with our friends, our the other wrestlers and our fans too. We've got some die-hard fans. I'll put over one kid real quick. His name is Rick Bassett. He's 12 years old, and he makes all the highlight videos for my shows because he can do it, and he can do it on his cell phone. and we pay him. Don't get me wrong, we pay him, but he is so talented because he wants to be in the business one way or another, and he's not old enough. So he found something he could do to be productive and help the company. And I'm like, this little dude is amazing. So like, he knows he's got a spot for life because he takes care of us and we take care of him. Like we get to know his mom and we get to know his friends and his dad and all the people that he brings to the shows with him. And he's become a favorite of the guys in the locker room. It's like, man, I can't wait till this kid Rig is old enough to actually start taking bumps. because everybody just wants to sell for him, and we got to wait like 6 more years. So,
that's awesome.
I don't know. It's cool.
People don't think that when it comes to professional wrestling, they mostly think of just the in-ring aspect of it. They don't really think of production, the guys setting up the ring, the people creating the highlight videos. There's all sorts of stuff. So very, very awesome. Well, that is about all I have. But before we go, where can people find you social media wise? So if they don't already have their eyes on you and Unified Wrestling Oklahoma, they can go ahead and get them there.
So it's all pretty self-explanatory. Unified Wrestling Oklahoma, or UWO Oklahoma, on the Facebook and the Twitter and the Snapchat and all that stuff. Me personally, it's DG_Urban Legend on Twitter and just about everywhere else. And then we have a Patreon account. It's patreon.com/Unified Wrestling Oklahoma. And on the Patreon account, what we do is semi-regularly, we will do like special events. They're empty arena events, but I'll do a full production and I'll book an entire card, and we will do an entire show strictly for the viewing of the Patreon subscribers. So about 30 or 40 people will get to see these events, because they pay, $5 a month. And when they pay that $5 a month, it also gives them 2 tickets to each of our events. We charge $12 a ticket, general admission. We don't do anything crazy, tiers or anything like that. But $12 a ticket, or you can pay $5, become a patron, join the subscription service, and we also mail stuff to your home, whether it be stickers or photographs or whatever, along with the flyer for the next event. You bring all that stuff to the event, get it signed. It's a fun little deal. It's nothing crazy like a loot crate or anything like that, but it's $5, and you're getting a hell of a deal for it. So anyone who does subscribe, they usually get personalized stuff from me. Any stickers are made by me. Any T-shirts that we sell are made by me. It's all done in-house. My wife and I run a business also on Facebook. If anyone wants to look at it, it's called the UWO Shop. At UWO Shop, we do everything in-house. I don't order any merchandise from any third-party or second-party vendors. I do it all here at the house. We do everything either at our kitchen table or in our office. So just to bring everything straight to the consumer.
That's awesome. Good way to keep it going there. Well, like I said, that is about all I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. Best of luck out there with the shows this Saturday. I will have this show, your episode, up. I'm imagining it will be up before that Friday the 13th show you were talking about. I can guarantee that. But I can hear my dogs rumbling around upstairs. I film down here in my basement. So I better go make sure they're not making a mess up there. Thank you again. And I look forward to seeing about that, especially that Friday the 13th
Thank you.
show.